All right, folks, let's talk about Taylor Swift a bit. So I haven't mentioned her yet on Acid Roots, and I kind of felt like this would be an accurate album to start off with. Really, this is one of Taylor Swift's darkest projects. Typically, she usually is like a country artist that migrated to pop, and by pop, I mean like real kind of vanilla wafer, real kind of uh, SFW lackadaisical pop, but that was the previous album she dropped before this one, 1989. But I kind of felt like, I liked the edge that Taylor Swift kind of showed on this project. But then to look further upon the theme of this, I'm looking on the internet and it said that two major themes for Reputation was one was drawing from the excessive gossip surrounding her, and the other was about finding love amidst like the tumultuous events. So basically, long story short and all that, Taylor Swift, obviously, because of how large an album 1989 and her country albums were, obviously paparazzi probably follows her everywhere. She has like the gossip and that sort of stuff. Just general like Selena Gomez and Britney Spears type tabloids where she's in those newspaper magazines that you see in grocery stores often, and that to be a central theme of that for about 10 years now by the time this album was out. Yeah, it gets tiresome. So, but the thing she said that this album was released as a defense mechanism of that. And it actually was a pretty large project. I mean, not typically as widespread as some of her other ones, but I did at least like the majority of the singles on this project, and she did promote it quite a bit. I mean, I remember hearing quite a few of these songs on like local radio and stuff. So I'll go ahead and let you know what went on with that. But yeah, so the first single was Look What You Made Me Do. Now, this was an outstanding song. If you're looking for Taylor Swift, but you want her with more of like an attitude, I mean, it surprised me just because this was a lot perkier of Taylor Swift. I mean, it kind of felt like, I mean, most of the time she kind of seems like the girl next door, kind of friendly, and, she would be unabashed if you said something like, fuck that television show or something like that. I mean, honestly, that's not completely her personality, but at least to kind of say, like I said, the SFW stuff. But yeah, this is a song that I enjoyed like a lot of how this wound up turning out. It samples like a 90s song called Too Sexy for My Car, that type stuff. And she nailed it really well. I mean, this is like this really. I kind of would like to hear more Taylor Swift songs and this kind of pace and this kind of uh, I almost want to say bitchiness, but kind of more just like it really kind of reminded me of just like, and there's really not a pop musician who does this. Like Avril Lavigne never did a song like this. Britney Spears attempted it back in like 2007 with Blackout, but this has a lot more kind of sexual attitude than most pop artists would go on to have in a song like that. So it's just surprising where this song kind of spawned out of nowhere. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Selena Gomez doesn't make songs like this. Just about any pop musician, even like Beyonce hasn't really done a song like this. So this Katy Perry hasn't. So it's pretty unexpected to kind of get this. I really felt this song deserved to hit number one, and this is a song that when it comes on radio, I can say and stand to say it's not too difficult a song to listen to. It's definitely a hit. Um, but then you might wonder, well, what other songs are like it on this project? Well, she does keep some of that edge, but I feel like this is one of the most sheer type songs in that sort. It's definitely a radio hit, and typically I veer towards underground or kind of more low key type music, but this is an example of something that needs to be on the radio. Second single was Ready for It. This is a good follow up. It's another up tempo song, kind of a departure for Taylor Swift, the kind of stuff that I mean, it felt almost like R&B, but I kind of like the theme of it being pop. I give it, I mean, sometimes second singles, I mean, Taylor Swift typically can get a couple number ones for the album. It didn't seem like it did. But I credit to her just because I think she was trying something new and she wasn't really aware of like probably that kind of theme that she was aiming for as to how to hit number one in a second single. It still charted really high, but obviously when an artist tries a different kind of uh, paradigm shift, it's difficult to kind of hit number one while doing that. So that's kind of the thing. There's a good song. I can listen to that one also. Um, Third single was Endgame. And this is kind of more pop, kind of felt like a more anthem, stadium type anthem, something you'd hear at a Taylor Swift concept. Has Future and Ed Sheeran on there. They do good jobs. I felt like they fit the song, but somehow I didn't quite like the, the kind of production on here. I mean, it seems odd to talk about production with Taylor Swift because, that's not, she's not in rap and that sort of stuff, but to kind of say, I don't know. I mean, it felt more pop, more so than that sort of stuff. I kind of would have liked it to kind of have like a tint of like some edge to it. I mean, I know this is probably an example. I mean, because obviously Taylor Swift had all her fans and, her audience that, this is kind of, it's in a somewhat edgy song, but for folks that, listen to like, oh, Royce the 5'9" or, like, Tech Nine, those type people, bunch of folks, Eminem in his old days, some of those folks, obviously you've got to, I mean, you have to kind of understand that pop, this for Taylor Swift is a good look, but for the standard folk that is not, a female pop artist, that's kind of the concept there, but it's serviceable, but I would probably say this is a song I'm on the fence about. New Year's Day was kind of a slower song, kind of back like Taylor Swift's older days from like 2006 and stuff. Uh, I didn't enjoy this song that much, but you can't say that she just completely had a departure because the second half of this album kind of has the second half of this album kind of has songs like in Taylor Swift's old days. She doesn't ignore it this time. Delicate, I remember hearing on the radio. That's definitely a good one. It felt like just like a Spotify song, a real kind of breezy pop slash R&B. This felt like R&B. I was kind of surprised by it. I mean, it's a really soft song. Probably wouldn't listen to it unless you've got females in your area. I mean, it's not something I'm going to go off on my own and just vibe to. I mean, it's soft. And I mean by that, like, I mean, if you're kind of embarrassed by Taylor Swift, and by that, like, if you're like, if Taylor Swift is someone who is like the theme of the song is kind of her saying she understands that it's delicate. Like, if you're too sensitive for Taylor Swift, it's kind of, I mean, she's not. Problem chances are most people who date Taylor Swift is going to be, someone who is rougher and she's more of a submissive personality. So that's kind of an obscure song. I mean, I know she's tending to more folks because I know there may be folks out there that like the song says, but it's like, come on, Taylor Swift is, she's like, sunflower pansy, and it's not to make fun of her. I mean, hopefully she doesn't be delicate and take offense to that, but she's always been like a real, this softer musician. So, and then the sixth single was Getaway Car. I mean, this kind of felt up tempo, but somehow, I don't know. Um, I didn't like the chorus too much, and it didn't chart. It kind of just felt like a last ditch single. Sometimes musicians will do that, like a last ditch single to try to promote the project. I mean, by that point, by the time we got to way out in late 2018, I think the promotion had wrapped up for Reputation. But it was just like the typical fifth, sixth single type stuff that just was simply there, but didn't really have any real oomph to it. So I didn't enjoy it. But all right, to talk about like the rest of the album, there's 15 songs on here. Most of the quicker songs are up front, and beyond that, there's a lot of this kind of halfway old school Taylor Swift, like King of My Heart, Dress, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things, Call It What You Want. Well, maybe Call It What You Want, I don't remember. But New Year's Day, those type songs. So, Yeah, I mean, I appreciated this. I was looking for like I really wanted another song like Look What You Made Me Do. I mean, there is more on this project that's enjoyable. This is going to get a decent score, but I think honestly if she would have had another song in the vein of Look What You Made Me Do, she probably would have released it as a single. So I think maybe Taylor Swift was trying to figure that out, but you know, to me it felt like a surprise hit. She may have known that that was going to be a large song, but I would have to kind of say, as far as like if you really connect with that song, for the most part there's not a song with that sort of fury. But she did try different, different concepts in that sort of vibe, and for the most part Taylor Swift kind of has like a more kind of toot on this project, more of like some of the songs she has like I Did Something Bad, and there was another one that was kind of like that, like This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things, and I know that there was another one here. This typical don't this that sort of stuff. I mean, it's kind of the concept of kind of saying, she's not quite as uh, you know, it's kind of the concept as far as saying she's not quite as like milk toast is what you might think. And that's just kind of the thing. It's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, I like the approach. I think she suits like this kind of electro pop and more of like edgy R&B. It's pretty good to kind of see her with that, but there's not enough examples of it. And I kind of feel like the songs I do like kind of feel like more of like just tinged R&B more as opposed to like dark pop, like what Avril Lavigne could have done if she was pissed off one day or something. That's just kind of the thing there. But I'll go ahead and list the songs I enjoyed. So out of 15, there were 6 of them that I recommend to you. So I'll go ahead. Look What You Made Me Do, Ready for It, So It Goes, Gorgeous, Delicate, and Don't Blame Me. Now, I've already talked about the singles. I told you that Endgame I was on the fence about. That's a secret 7th song, but I'm not going to add it to like the score. But So It Goes really felt like a real kind of just moody and murky kind of R&B song. I wasn't expecting that. Taylor Swift had some nice melodies on there. It was really kind of another departure that felt, pretty stylish for her. Gorgeous kind of felt like Delicate a bit, this kind of more pop R&B stuff that, Katy Perry, Selena Gomez might do. And then I listened to Don't Blame Me, but I don't specifically remember. But I think that one had like nice melodies on there also. Yeah, that one kind of felt like white girl R&B, which I think that's not a concept that happens too often. But I like the kind of concept of what she was trying to do with Don't Blame Me. So that's kind of the thing there. So I'm gonna give this album a 4.5 out of 10. Like there's plenty of songs on here to warrant a purchase, and it's new for Taylor Swift. She was breaking new grounds by doing it, but I felt like the slow songs, or at least it's not like I don't enjoy old school Taylor Swift, but I kind of look at it. I think the theme that she was kind of going with here, I think she didn't want to try it too much as to alienate her old fans and her bank, as far as that kind of goes, as to wondering. I mean, there's stuff on here that is charming, but it's almost kind of short lived because it kind of appeals to everything. And, there may be folks that are the opposite and like the old school Taylor Swift, which she might have refined really well, but I felt like this new thing kind of worked well. I mean, there's stuff on here, especially for for like guys who might not just be a fan of country or even like soft pop from male musicians and that sort of stuff, or certain female musicians. I felt like this kind of has the concept of not just being purely in a Valentine's Day romantic, relationship type thing. So there is stuff that kind of fits that theme. So that's good. The social score, I'll give that a 10 just because of how well she promoted it. I mean, in addition to the 6 singles, she had like 2 promotional singles. So she really did promote this. It's just the fact that it felt like she didn't because only really 4 songs connected, and that's relatively spare for Taylor Swift, generally how she is. But yeah, so there you go.